Okay, so this is the story of Pete and Peaches, and also how you can come up with your own cartoon character. It's kind of just loose leaf papers, so I'll be turning these and you can follow along. For several years, I've been visiting schools and libraries, talking to children just like you about drawing cartoons. As I went from place to place, I started getting the same request over and over from kids, moms, and librarians. Would I write a book about how I came up with the cartoon characters I draw? A book that not only showed how I did it, but also inspired your imagination. A book that was written to give you some help and direction on how to use your own unique and special artistic talent. This is the book I came up with. I would really like to hear from you on what you think of this book. Feel free to write me with your comments, suggestions, or questions you might have. And remember, keep reading, writing, and drawing. As far as I remember, I've always loved to draw. First, I started out drawing stickmen, little lines with arms and legs. Then I started drawing trees and flowers and grass. I never was very good at drawing animals, so I stuck to drawing people. Another thing that I liked to draw a lot was boats and cars. I guess that's because when I was little, my sister and I used to play in an old car and boat that were abandoned in the woods close to our house. It was great fun. My grandma and grandpa were a big help to me, too. My grandma and I took oil painting classes together. Grandpa had a good friend who drew a comic strip in the newspaper. I'd always wondered how a cartoonist comes up with the characters they draw. So I wrote and asked him. He told me there are two ways. Number one, create them based on real people, places, and things. Or, number two, create them from your imagination. That gave me an idea. I was going to try and come up with my very own cartoon characters. My mom and dad encouraged me by keeping a ton of paper around for me to draw on. My all-time favorite paper is giant pieces of white poster board. I used to draw huge pictures of forests with really cool tree forts that were connected together with neat rope bridges. At first, I drew with pencils and did a lot of shading in each picture. Then I started using pens. The drawings I did for this book are done with a black ink pen. When I want to add color to a picture, I really like to use crayons. I decided to draw my cartoons based on real people, places, and things, but I also wanted to use my imagination quite a bit. My first cartoon character was based on the family pet we had when I was growing up, a little teacup poodle that my uncle gave me. We named her Peaches because she was all white with a little peach color on her ears. Here's some of the pictures of her early renditions that I had of her, the way I used to draw her, and this is in 1979. I called her Cuddles in this picture. I started drawing cartoons of her the same week we got her. As you can see from the early drawings here, I didn't call her Peaches right away. I experimented with other names at first. Eventually, I came back to her real name. The next character I created was a cartoon based on a friend of mine who was about 12 years old at the time. I wanted my cartoons to be positive, and this guy was Mr. Positive. He always looked at the bright side of life. So I drew cartoons of him and Peaches together all the time. Though Peaches looked pretty much the same over the years, my friend changed a lot. Can you think of someone you could base a cartoon character on? The name of this cartoon always gave me trouble. I couldn't think of a name that fit. First it was Irv, then it was Mel. Finally, it became Pete, the name of a roommate of mine in New York. That was about in 1980. Gradually, Pete lost his cap and mustache. His hair straightened out, and I made his nose a little smaller too. Which just goes to show you, if you're going to become a cartoonist, you can change your characters anytime you want to, which I think is pretty great. Now, here's some drawings I put in the book. Here's 1979, and this is a picture of Irv, if you can see that one. And then this one is of Pete early on. It says here, I remember trying to get the branch wrapped around Pete just right on this drawing. Don't ask me why, and I have no idea why the tree is singing. Okay, so those are from 1979. And here's some early drawings when he was Mel. I don't even know where I came up with that name. And then here's one of my earliest. This is about 1979, and it's Pete with Peaches. She kind of looks a little, it's just a bad hair day. Now we're talking about some how-to secrets. I thought you'd like to see exactly how I draw the cartoons from start to finish. As you will notice, I start out both cartoon characters very much the same. This creates a certain style that makes my cartoons easily recognizable by people when they see them. You'll also notice they don't look exactly the same each time I draw them as some cartoons do in comic strips. That's just another part of my particular style of drawing. Take a look at how I draw them, then see if you can draw them like I do. Or better yet, maybe you'll create a whole new character. So here's a couple how-to pages. Shows how I start out with her eyes, then her nose and her ears. And then can you see that? There's Peaches right at the end. Then we have a series of pictures, 1 through 8, showing Pete. And here he is, his eyes starting out, and then here he is at the very end. And there you go. You can see kind of the progression there. Then this one is kind of an assignment page, so maybe back home you can just try drawing them on this page. Maybe you can just put a nice border around a piece of typing paper and try drawing Pete and Peaches yourself. When I first started drawing, I used to copy other people's work. I draw Mickey Mouse and Winnie the Pooh and other characters. But then I started to notice that people liked the cartoons that I drew, the ones that came from my life, from real people, real places, and from those based on my own imagination. I think you'll find the same thing true in your case if you work at it. It takes a while to develop your own style, but once you do, you'll be able to expand and to improve on it. Anyone can copy another person's work, but to have your own style is something that puts you on another level, one that I think you'll really like. So what is your style going to be? To help you find and develop your own style, I'll take you through the picture on this page, item by item, and reveal its special meaning. I'm confident that by revealing the secrets inside my drawings, it will inspire you to come up with your own cartoon creations. The picture below shows Pete and Peaches in a classic setting. All the elements are there. The 2 cartoons, the sun, flowers, balloon, birds, rocks, and the grass. Also note the way I've signed this drawing. Let's take a closer look now at each part. This one I signed as Cartoon Man. This is a drawing, and you can see now the first element, the sun. The sun is almost in every picture that I draw. To me, it represents the bright and positive side of life. But it's more than that. Count the lines and dots around the sun, and how many do you come up with? See in the picture? Right. 16 lines and dots are there. That's how old I was when I really got serious about drawing. It was also when I decided I would set a goal for myself, that one day I would make a living doing what I like to do best, drawing and writing. What kind of goal do you have for the future? And hey, do you have a unique way of drawing the sun? Flowers. In a lot of the cartoon scenes, Peter is holding a flower. The flower is there to make the point that he is a sensitive and caring kind of person. He likes to write poetry, and he loves good art. He's the kind of person you'd want as a close friend. Each flower has 5 petals. They stand for my 3 sisters, my mom, and my grandma, people who are very important in my life. Who are important people in your life? maybe you can think of a way to include them in your drawings. Birds. When I was in grade school, instead of calling me by my name, Robin, my friends would call me Birdman. I always liked birds, so I made sure I included them in the pictures I drew. The birds also represent the number of people in my family. Right now, there are 5 birds in each drawing. They stand for me, my wife, and our 3 daughters. How do you draw birds? Draw some at the bottom of this page. Or you can get a piece of paper at home and draw them on a piece of that paper. Grass. Except for a few drawings, I usually have the cartoons outside. Most often, I have them standing on a grassy hill. You'll notice that the grass looks like a lot of W's, which is the first letter in my wife's name. Her name is Wendy. Your cartoons can live in a cave, underground, in a super-duper treehouse, even on another planet. Let me know what you come up with. Balloons. I've always loved balloons. They remind me of being young and having fun. I like to fly in airplanes, so I try to draw the cartoons flying whenever I can, with a balloon providing the lift they need. I do believe they like flying more than I do. Pete likes the color red, so I occasionally make an original drawing with him holding a red balloon special. Rocks. When I lived out west in Payson, Arizona, my dad and I would go rock hunting in the mountains. One day he found a huge piece of petrified wood. It was awesome. Another rock I really like is turquoise. I have these types of rocks in the studio where I draw my cartoons. So, of course, I like to have them in some of the pictures I draw. What's your favorite type of rock? The signature. The signature on a drawing is very important. It lets people know who drew it and makes it easy for them to get to know the artist's unique style. You can sign your work the same way all the time, or you can sign it different ways. It can be simple or fancy, very neat, or barely readable. You can see the ways I sign my work. At times, it's just my first name, sometimes just my last name, and special pieces I sign my whole name. I also visit schools and libraries as Cartoon Man. I talk about drawing and writing, of course, and that's how I sign some of my work too. How do you sign your work now? Put your signature on the line below, or maybe you can sign the picture of Pete and Peaches that you drew. In my early drawings of Pete, I drew his mouth. But today, I don't. Instead, he builds and paints signs with words on them. This is how he gets his message across, with power phrases, such as the phrase above. Pete keeps things simple, so that what he says will be remembered and will have impact. Your cartoons can speak, draw, write, sing, whatever you choose. Some of the most popular cartoons have been simple black and white line drawings. I drew all the cartoons that way, with hand lettering. Then I thought to be successful, I had to add color to the pictures and went to computer-generated words. Now I draw them like I used to. There are 2 ways to look at it. 1, see what people like and draw your cartoons how they want you to. Or 2, draw them in your own style, with your own message, and let people accept them as they are. Remember one important thing. You can't please everyone. Draw with your heart. Make the most of what talent you do have. Listen and make changes where you need to. Get a clear vision of your goal and pursue it with all you've got. One important tip I want to share is that you don't have to be perfect. Some people give up on their artistic ability because they think they have to get it just right in a short amount of time. I will tell you, it took me quite some time to create my style, and as you can tell, I'm not into perfect. Here's a suggestion. Study the style and techniques of other artists and cartoonists. Look closely at how they draw hands, feet, trees, animals. Write to them. Ask them questions. Many comic strips have email addresses where you can write the cartoonist directly. You will be amazed at how happy they are that you asked, and will help you get on the road to success. Be creative. Try new types of pens and paper. Go to a printer and ask about paper. You'll be shocked at all the types there are. I hope that this book was helpful to you. I know I really was encouraged to draw cartoons by that cartoonist who first wrote me. Don't be discouraged if progress comes slow. Keep working with the wonderful talent and ability that you have inside you. And most importantly, never give up. In time, you will accomplish what you set out to do if you just keep going. So until I hear from you, keep drawing. And remember, there's a famous cartoon just waiting to be drawn.